comfortable where you are, just allow the body to come to rest, allow the eyes to gently close, and just let your breath just come for these first few rounds. And just really usher yourself into this present moment by noticing everything about your physical presence, about your mental state, about your emotions, about your breath. And see if you can notice it without trying to change it for just this first little bit. So often we come to meditation and we think we have to immediately adjust and fix and do. But there's this part of this practice that is really about honoring exactly as we are in this moment. And so as we settle in, I want to just remind you of the definition of mindfulness. So you're just breathing, sitting, waiting, noticing. But the definition of mindfulness says that we are showing up in the present moment, paying attention on purpose without judgment. And so again, just see if you can notice what's going on with you without trying to change it, without judging it. The one thing that we don't want to do is make our mindful practice, our meditation practice, one more thing that we force on ourselves, or one more thing that we think we have to do a certain way or else we've failed. So just again, notice. Just notice. And as you're noticing, now just allow that breath to bring you a sense of calm. Feel the breath coming in. Notice the breath going out. I've really been thinking a lot over the last, not just several days, but several weeks, maybe even months, about how acceptance is truly part of this practice. And how it's almost simple to show up on our cushion or in our spot or in that chair, wherever you find yourself for your meditation time. And just tell myself, I'm going to accept just as it is. And we do pretty well at that. But then we rise up and we leave that spot and we start interacting with people. And we start having situations in our life come up. And this acceptance that seemed so simple while we were sitting here, all of a sudden seems almost impossible. And I, just like you, I'm sure, have had things in my life that it's really, really difficult to accept lately. But I don't want my inability, or my seemingly inability, to keep me from living this mindful practice once I leave my cushion. And so this morning in my own quiet time, I was just really thinking, how do I bring acceptance to all the parts of me? And so I would encourage you to think for this next moment or so, what's a part of your life that you're really struggling to accept without judgment, without trying to change it? Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a situation at work, maybe it's something with your health. But just everybody think to yourself, what is the one part of me that I am struggling to just accept? Let's just pause in each of us. See what comes up. And so this morning, as I have had this thing with which I've been sitting for a while, the meditation practice called Tonglen meditation just came right to the front of my mind. And I've used it before in lots of different settings, and I thought, this is the kind of meditation practice I need today to find a way to accept. And so I thought we could practice this together. You picturing and noticing your thing, me sitting with my thing. Because what Tonglen meditation does is it actually brings that thing into us on purpose. Like we think about it, we see it, we feel it. And we do that with our breath in. But before we breathe out, it's like that thing sits right here at our heart center and it gets kind of washed. I don't know how else to describe it. So that by the time we exhale, the goodness comes out. Now, sometimes our meditation practice is we want to inhale peace so we can exhale frustration. And we want to inhale calm so we can exhale chaos. But Tonglen is just the opposite. It's actually taking in the thing with which you're suffering or you're struggling and sitting with it for that breath, letting your spirit, letting this practice just kind of wash it. And then breathing out the acceptance of it. And so this morning as I practiced, I used the words acceptance and compassion and grace as the things that I wanted to exhale, the things that I wanted to emit once I leave my cushion. And I thought we could practice that together. And so as we inhale these next few times, what I'll do is I'll just say, breathing in, I see, and I'm going to picture my situation with which I'm really grappling, and you're going to picture yours. And then as we breathe out, we're going to practice breathing out the acceptance onto that thing. And then we'll practice breathing out the compassion onto that situation. And then we'll practice breathing out the grace onto whatever it is or whoever it is. And just these few breaths, it's not going to fix our struggle with acceptance, but it's going to be a starting point. And so just take a couple of breaths on your own, sitting with that thing, knowing what it is that you're struggling with, that person, that situation, that diagnosis, that stumbling block that just seems to be getting in your way. And then together, as we sit up nice and tall, breathing in, see it. Breathing out, acceptance. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, compassion. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, grace. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, acceptance. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, compassion. Breathing in, see it. Breathing out, grace. And just continue to breathe, almost as if that situation, that person, that struggle is sitting in the spot right next to you. And as we sit for these next couple of just quiet moments together, let's sit with it. Sit with it and see it. And for the first just few breaths, I'm going to just keep saying those words. Acceptance, compassion, grace. And while again, we won't rise up and have everything just all in order as we'd like for it to be, I will tell you that the more you practice this, you start to find out that it's not so much that you're accepting that thing or that behavior or that person. You're accepting your role to just sit with it as it is. Not trying to change it. Not judging it. Just being with it. Filled with acceptance and grace and compassion. So just continue to breathe. Imagine that situation, that person, that whatever it is just sitting right there next to you on that cushion by you. And just keep breathing out. Acceptance. Compassion. Grace. Acceptance. Compassion. Grace. Acceptance. Compassion. Grace. And now I'll sit with mine, you sit with yours. Continuing to breathe. Acceptance. Compassion. Grace. Acceptance. Compassion. Grace. And as you just continue to sit for just a few more breaths together here collectively, reminding ourselves that this practice does not insulate us from suffering. It doesn't protect us from the bad decisions that other people make. It doesn't mean that we won't hurt, that we won't struggle. But this practice gives us this amazing toolbox of depth, so that no matter what the suffering or the struggle or the thing is, we don't meet it with resistance or with heartbreak or even with this dogged determination to just push through, but rather we meet it with acceptance and compassion and grace. And all of a sudden we look up and we realize that this practice that takes place on a cushion or in a spot, what the world kind of blocked out for a few minutes, all of a sudden that practice is a part of our everyday life. And when the next struggle comes, we go back into that toolbox and we pull out acceptance, compassion, and grace. Namaste.